Hello, Walter. Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
This is Malachi.
Oh,
This is Malachi from Tears. Thank you for joining.
oh, hi.
Okay.
Good morning.
It's,
I was told I should check in like 10 minutes beforehand. So
yes, yes. Let me just get everyone else to come in.
Meetings. So my phone is sort of on silent. I'm even trying to do this thing to
Hi. Hi, everyone. Good morning.
Hi, Damola. Good morning.
And hi, Walter. Hi, Zikora. Thank you so much for joining. We are just
good morning.
waiting for Timmy and Desmond Vincent to join. So welcome to our webinar. We just wanted to do a quick practice run for sound and anything else. Is anyone sharing any slides?
No, I'm not.
Okay, great.
it doesn't seem like any other. So I prepared, but no, I'm not sure them.
Sorry?
I said it doesn't seem like any other person is showing. I did prepare slides, but I just wanted to show them later. I don't think I would show them on this panel.
Oh, okay. Okay, no wala. You can just send them to me and I'll send them to participants.
Okay, Will.
Yes. Yeah, I'll send it but I'll send my email to you in case you don't have it. All right, great. Hi, Tim. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. Sorry, it was so crazy joining.
Hi, morning. So great to finally meet you.
Yeah.
So I have Walter on the call. I have Zipper on the call as well. So we're just doing a quick practice run to make sure everything sound wise and everything is in order.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm waiting for Desmond Vincent to join. So that will be our last person. And then we can just wait for all our participants to join. Thank you, everyone. Hi, Vincent. Good morning. Okay, I'm just going to turn off my camera real quick so I can just move around and do something so you look at the blank screen. Hello, everyone. Good morning and welcome to our webinar. First of all, happy Pride to everybody. June, as usual, is our Pride Month where we celebrate everything queer. Well, the whole year we celebrate everything queer, but June we do it even more. So welcome to our Tears webinar. So for this webinar, we are discussing media and how misinformation spreads within the Nigerian media. Everyone here definitely has seen a post by a blog or even a major newspaper that usually talks about the queer community, and then the way they report it, we who are within the community, we know everything that is happening, but the way it's being reported at times, we find that there are some misinformation, there are some things that are painted in a very negative light and things like that. So today we are here to discuss that and also to talk about ways in which we can do it better. In short, do we have to reach out to these media houses, or is it on us, on organizations like Tears, or what exactly can we do about it? So I'd like to introduce my panelists. First of all, I have Vincent Desmond. Vincent Desmond is a journalist, researcher, and writer. Sorry, I'm just trying to bring up my notes. So Vincent Desmond is a writer and researcher. His features have been published online and in print by Vogue, Guardian, and the Financial Times. Elle even interview with Elephant. While his research has shaped projects at Spotify, Google, and Guinness, and more. And then we have our next panelist, Walter Ude. Walter has been writing stories since he was a child, and has write-ups that have appeared online in the 2012 anthology, So We Do Not Forget, and A Handful of Dust. He debuted his first novel, The Event, 2014, and co-authored a novella, Love Eventually, in 2016. He is also the creative force behind Keto Diaries. We all know Keto Diaries and we love Keto Diaries. Well, love-hate relationship for some people, but we know how much Keto Diaries has done for the community, and we have Walter here to weigh in as a community manager of such a platform. Our next panelist is Tim. Timini Prey is a lawyer with a strong focus on human rights advocacy and queer liberation. They work as an independent gender violence advocate, supporting women and other minority identities who are survivors of domestic abuse and sexual violence. They are also a writer whose essays have been published in Al Jazeera, Tempo, The Republic, 10 Magazine, Autostraddle, and other platforms. Tim's pronouns are they, them. Now, our next panelist is Zikora Okowewo. Oh my goodness, I hope I pronounced that well. Okowewo. Zikora is a partner at Spring Goods LP, a full-service law firm in Lekki, Lagos. He leads their corporate practice advising clients on strategic solutions for compliance and growth and investment. He's also chair of the firm's human rights and pro bono group. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, someone. Thank you so much for agreeing to be a panelist on this webinar. So I guess we can get into it. We have welcome remarks. Sorry, not welcome remarks. That's my mistake. We have welcome address by Chimdima Ike, our Director of Programs at Tears. So Chimdima, please.
Hello everyone. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, permit me, I will not be able to use my camera now because of some technical issues, but I'm so happy that everyone is here, and happy Pride Month. Like Damola said, and like they told me when I came into knowing myself, my name is Chimdi Mikey, and my pronouns are she, her, and I'm Director of Programs at Tears. I'm happy that, we are all here today to discuss how to attain truth in reporting and how best to combat the misinformation of LGBTQI issues that is fraught within the media space in Nigeria. And we all know that the Nigerian queer community faces significant challenges in how issues are portrayed in the media. We see it every day in the articles, in social media, on Twitter, on IG, on posts that is clickbait, and even in the comment section. We all see this, right? And yes, we are here to speak on how, we can get to a stage where, reporting is fraught with truth and how we can combat misinformation. However, it is not only the duty of the queer community to hold the media accountable and responsible for integrity, compassion, and unwavering commitment in terms of truth in reporting, but it's also the duty of civil society at large. It's the duty of state actors. It's the duty of the general Nigerian populace to also hold the media accountable. Media in all of its forms, it wields this tremendous power because the way, it portrays content, the way it portrays stories influences the public, influences public opinion, and it has that power to bridge or widen any gap that's caused by society. It can bridge, media has the power to bridge any miscommunication or any misinformation because it has impact knowledge. So it can either give a positive knowledge that helps people to understand and bridges a gap, or it can put out misinformation that widens this gap and causes confusion and sorrow to a particular demographic. So, media has, and especially in all of these forms, with either being, in print or being social media, internet, or, movies, art, whatever the channel, media has, that power, that influence to, either bridge or widen societal divides. And, in Nigeria, where our ideologies are mostly traditional, our values are traditional, and these traditional values has intersected in how, we operate in this modern society. And I also like to say that what we call our traditional values can also be interchanged with what we can say to be religious values. In Nigeria, our tradition, our values have mixed up with religion. So oftentimes, what is actually our traditional values, our beliefs, have been thrown aside and replaced by religious values. And that's what we see in modern society, modern Nigeria as of today. And through, this lens, LGBTQI people are portrayed in such a way that it evokes misunderstanding, prejudice, misinformation, and all whatnot. And this misinformation, this information, or whatever we can call it, is being welded and being put out by the media, right? And this sort of distorts public perception, right? And in as much as we are in a society where a lot of us grew up hearing, oh, this is not our culture, this is not this, it's been heavily influenced by media. And you see the portrayal of the community or anything that relates to being queer in media, for example, Nollywood. If it's not demonized, it's not going to be portrayed. So we have had instances where there has been representation in the media. However, this representation is negative, and it's put in such a way so that it encourages prejudice and pushes out misinformation. So now, what are we going to do? What is the community going to do? What is civil society going to do? What is Nigeria going to do? What are we going to do to combat misinformation? First of all, we have to acknowledge its roots. You have to acknowledge that, misinformation thrives in an environment where knowledge is scarce. There are other reasons why it could thrive, but then we know that one of the reasons is because of a lack of knowledge. We know there are a lot of people out there, having really thick and strong homophobia in their heart. right? While there are also a lot of people out there who, if presented with ideal and actual and accurate information, they can open their minds to better understand. So, however, media has not helped in putting out this correct representation. Media has not helped in dispelling misinformation. It has only added, to it. So first step is important that, acknowledge where the root of misinformation is coming from, which is when an environment where knowledge is scarce, an environment where fear is prevalent, right? A lot of these things happen because it's backed by laws that say, okay, if you are found out to be queer, you are going to go to jail, or you are going to, be sentenced to a particular amount of years in prison. So these actually, brings up fear and puts us in a society where, fear is prevalent. Biases go unchallenged. We have, issues about biases and how people will just randomly throw words, and homosexuality is not our culture. And when you dig deep into it, you realize it's as a result of bias that has been, nurtured as a result of religious fundamentalism. So these are all of some of the issues that cause, misinformation to thrive. So if we want to get to a society whereby we say that media to a large extent is actually putting accurate information out there, information that is inclusive, information that is respectful, information that actually shows the actual issues that the community faces in Nigeria, there are a lot of things we have to do. Journalists, media professionals, they need to be equipped with nuanced understanding of LGBTQIA plus realities and identities, the unique challenges that the community faces. These are some of the things that, journalists and media professionals have to be educated on. It's a long shot, but they say tiny drops of water make a mighty ocean. I always feel like in a gathering of 100, there'll be bad eggs, but at least you have 50 bad and 50 good. How do we reach out to, these media professionals that are the movable middle, these media professionals that when presented with information, when presented with correct information and reality, they are able to translate that into the kind of media content that they put out there. Then how do we amplify the voices of people within the community? Sometimes media is not just media houses, it's not just media professionals. Every single one of us in our own way are, I don't want to say media professionals, but at least either media users or content creators. We might not know. Do you tweet regularly? Do you post on Instagram? Do you use Facebook? In our own little corner, where individuals are out there, showing what it is like, a glimpse into the realities of their lives. And we can use, these platforms of these people to amplify these individuals so that, more stories about queer realities will be out there and it will be normalized. So again, we have to talk about solidarity. Tears is doing this to, work with other organizations as well as partnering with other organizations to do a lot of media advocacy. How do we penetrate the media with the right materials, IC materials, educational materials, webinars and all of that to talk about, all of these issues and how we can come together as a civil society to ensure that reporting is ethical and truthful, right? So in conclusion, basically, let us all strive, whether media professionals or activists or the ordinary Nigerian or state actor or member of civil society, let us strive to do our own part in ensuring that there is truth in reporting. Let us remember that our words have power. It's not just media print, it's also what do you tweet? What do you post? Who are you trying to implicate as a result of you are not feeling in a particular way at that moment? You are not feeling the person, or you have been scorned. So this is the conversation that is encompassing, but also we are bringing it down to the community. So how do we strive to ensure that there's truth in reporting in everything that we do? And when the media puts out all of these false narratives about the community, how do we in our little corner ensure that we put something out here to ensure that at least the internet has some sort of footprint on some semblance of the truth? So, we can either harm or heal or divide or unite, basically, but it's important that we do our best to hold not just media professionals and houses accountable, but also do our part in ensuring that we inject the media and the internet and the overall space with actual realities and true representation of the lived reality of queer persons in Nigeria and what that means for us as a movement. So at this point, I will just stop here. I don't want to take too much of our time to ramble on, and I'll move the mic back to Damola.
Thank you so much, Mvima. That was a very good intro to our topic, and thank you for highlighting most of the issues that we all hold dear to our hearts, and we know the reason why a webinar like this is very important. So we are moving straight into the panel discussion. So welcome again to my panelists. I have Desmond Vincent here. I have Walter Ude, Zikora, and I have Timmy. Timmy's pronouns are they, them. So let me start with Desmond. And my first question is, in your work, online researching, what are the trends that you've observed in the representation of LGBTQ plus issues in Nigerian media?
Hi, everyone. As I said, my name is Vincent Desmond. I think when it comes to trends, obviously the thing about trends is it's very specific to that time period that you're referencing. A few years back, the trend of the reporting of queer people was very wanted. I think at the moment, because there's a lot of online organization happening, a lot of online visibility with queer people, so much of the trend, so much of how queer people are represented on media is to kind of present it as this guerrilla operation, this group of people with some amount of power, some amount of autonomy is coming to my mind, but that's not the word I want to use. But they're kind of presenting queer people as this organization that just has a lot of, that's doing something. They no longer want to position us as powerless because they know everyone. Let's say a few years, let's say in the 2000s, in 2010s rather, the agenda was to ensure that queer people in Nigeria were non-existent. They were really pushing the narrative of there are no queer people in Nigeria. The idea of queerness is imported from the West, whereas today in the 2010s, in the 2020s, thanks to social media, thanks to so many visible queer people, we can no longer deny the fact that there are queer people here in the country. So what they're trying to present us as is this organization that has this great plan, this you see it with things, you see it with how Instablog just kind of frames certain reportage where the main narrative, the main point they want to drive home is that these queer people exist, these queer people are funded, these queer people have some grand plan of takeover of just taking over basically. So I think that I would say that's the main trend in how queer people are being represented in media today.
All right, thank you so much for that. What we've also noticed with tears is also that there seem to be a lot of financial backing for these people that tend to spread this narrative. I wanted to ask Tim, what are the trends that you've noticed? Have you seen other well-funded anti-rights movements in articles? Because we tend to see it a lot. I wonder if that's a general trend that you've noticed as well. That's Tim. Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, I was saying I didn't get the last part of your statement.
Okay, I said that we've noticed, at least I've noticed personally, that most of these movements are heavily funded because they tend to put, sporadic ads in newspapers about this misinformation. You have an article that just twists the truth. Is that what you noticed as well?
Yes, I think I have noticed that particularly in LGBTQ reporting is that most of the articles out there, most of the ads, it tends to have some, I don't know, religious undertone or just political undertone that gives me the idea or makes me believe that it's either funded by religious houses or political organizations or just something that, or somebody that wants to like enact that fear in the hearts of citizens, just making them believe that like, okay, queer people exist to hurt you, to harm you, or to like get something out of you. I think the example that comes to mind would be the reporting of the keto cases in Nigeria. I know for the longest time, like queer journalists, queer people have been speaking out about like the keto crisis, and everybody knows that the keto crisis is something that started out as heterosexual men like pretending to be queer men to target queer men. Or I found this reported by like a mainstream news article, and all of a sudden it was reported as queer men targeting heterosexual men. So now heterosexual men have it in their heads that like queer men are just lying in wait, waiting to rape them or do this to them. Whereas that's not the case. Like gay men have always been the victims of this and not the other way around. And most queer women and like non-binary people as well. So to see that change in the narrative just shows that like there's somebody out there just bankrolling this misinformation to put that fear in the hearts of the general public, so they have more reasons to hate us, more reasons to target us, more reasons to like just inflict violence on queer people. Yeah.
Absolutely, thank you so much for that. Yes, the misreporting around these keto cases is quite rampant, and that's even one of the reasons why I have Zikora on the call as well as a panelist. Zikora, would you like to weigh in with regards to your experience? I know there's some information that you can't give, but what has been your experience and what do you think can be done from the journalist's point of view in cases like this, where there's been misinformation with a keto case?
Okay, so in my experience, a lot of times when I've done a lot of matters involving queer men and keto cases. In fact, the one that she's talking about, where queer men were accused of trying to rape straight men in Lagos, was a direct experience that I had. I was working on it. I was working on the matter, and I remember that we had 9 men arrested, and the police was threatening me that I was representing queer men, which means there was going to be a news story, and I was going to be in that news story. So it was very interesting that the police framing of the issue was different from what all their evidence said, and they were trying to detain one of my clients that was a victim that the police had arrested. And I don't think we realize how much the media stories affect the way that the police enforces the law. I had an experience
Yes.
2 days ago, a few days ago, where the police arrested two ladies and said they were lesbian and said they were married and made a lot of accusations. And when I came, the police started talking about bail, because I told them, even if it's a crime, I don't know whether it's a crime, but even if it's a crime, let's go to court. And the police said that they will hold. I said, no, you don't have the right to hold anybody beyond 48 hours. After 48 hours, you have to charge or you bail. Just choose one. If you're charging, let's meet in court. If not, you have. And that was before then. And I kept trying to convince them that this is a bailable offense. They kept saying it's against the morals. The neighbors, they have daughters, they have young children. Imagine what those young children will say. I say, I don't care, Oga. Are you going to court or not? If you're going to court,
The law
let's
is the
go.
law, right?
If you're not going to court, bail them. I don't care what you're talking about. So, but there's a part of this perception I want to talk about. When I think I texted Chidima. They said I should bring 500,000, that they are being very kind to me. Mind you, this is a police station in Langbasa, Lagos. If you don't know where Langbasa is the underbelly of Satan's armpit. It's, sorry if you live there.
What?
I'm so sorry, but it's at the end of the world. Nobody there has disposable 500,000 to give anybody. But they believe that because I'm a lawyer representing queer people, there has to be money that Americans are giving to enforce queerness in Nigeria, which is stupid. So this media, like when you understand the media stories and the media perceptions that inform some of these positions, I think we should also develop better ways of engaging them, because eventually we processed bail with not paying anything. We processed bail free of charge, and but that's a long story. I think we'll get to it along this call. But the thing is, a lot of times in dealing with the police, in dealing with law enforcement, in dealing with even the court process, in dealing with individuals, with banks, they have very fancy ideas of what queer people are, of what LGBTQ people are. And I think we have a responsibility, not just for queer people, for everybody on this call. We have a responsibility to consistently engage those perceptions, to consistently challenge them and not give them that much power. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, for weighing in, especially with your experience and all. And then that case happened, and then what the police reported. Let me read what Instablog said on this. The person that he said was implicated, they roped him in as a leader of the gang. He says the oldest member of the gang and a lawyer said he graduated from Florida University. My problem started after I got a call from a friend. They said it's his confession. And then he goes on to say that I do not know this person. When I got there, the policemen were parading some suspect. One of them pointed at me. I do not know this person. What I do is post vacancies. Now, it's amazing how the police do not care what the statement says, and then they still just put out whatever it is they want to say in media, just to make themselves look good. I went through a bunch of articles yesterday as well. I can't find it right now, but I remember exactly what it said. A Vanguard article said that they have been for the 57 of Egbeda 57, they said that they went there and they saw the initiation into a homosexual club, and that's why they arrested them. And it was a quoted article. And I wonder that why does this always still happen? Don't they have learned people? TIERS and a bunch of other organizations have done a lot of trainings for police officials to know how to deal with certain issues. But I feel like it's a choice they're making to not deal with these cases properly. I wanted to ask Walter as well. We know that you put up a lot of keto alerts on Keto Diaries. I mean, that's one of the things that started Keto Diaries, if I'm not if I'm not mistaken. So I wanted to ask that, have you ever interviewed a police person in one of these keto cases? Or what are the trends that you see when people report to you? What are the trends you see in regards to how these cases are handled when they get to police station?
Hi, good morning, everyone.
Hello, hi.
So I haven't, the few times that I have spoken to a police person in relation to anything that had to do with keto case, it wasn't to interview the person regarding how they handle it. It's just basically someone calling me to threaten me, to say, oh, you're putting out this information and because, okay, for instance, an example is when somebody reached out to me to tell me that he was in the police station trying to settle something, and then he overheard some policemen discussing strategies about how they are infiltrating the Nigerian gay Twitter space to try and lure people into their nets. And so it's this idea that we are not even dealing with just non-state actors who are trying to victimize queer people. We are also dealing with state actors who are moving into our spaces to actively entrap us. And so before then, this wasn't information that we were aware of. And then when this guy told me, I was so alarmed, and he was telling me what the tactics that he overheard them using and the things they were saying. And so when I put out that information, that was the very first time that I interacted with a police person, because then I got a call via Instagram DM, and the person was filming and he was saying he's a policeman and he's going to arrest me, they're going to find me. It was very, very scary because I had never had that kind of engagement before. But yeah, that's the only time I've had any dealings with a police person. And generally, from my point of view, I don't know if ultimately policemen are still part of the fabric of Nigerian society, and I don't think of them as people who automatically come into some intelligent consciousness on how to handle queer issues simply because they are in the law. They are still the basic Nigerian public. And as long as we have the Nigerian public who are steeped in this ignorance on what our realities are, that will still be the way the police treat us. Oftentimes, for instance, there is a queer person who, and the funny thing is, in this case, the person who went to see, the person who kitoed him, it wasn't even a hookup that he went for. It was, yes, granted, they had been talking about, sexual things and getting to meet. But that particular meeting, this person had told him that there is, because he'd been complaining about employment, and the person said, okay, come with your CV and things to my place. I have some job opportunities I can set up for you. And he went specifically for that. And then the person, of course, the story went the way it usually goes. There were bandits, all of them came in and they harassed him, they took his phone, took some money, and then kicked him out. So he felt very justified to go to the nearest police station, because in this case, he didn't go for a hookup. He went for a specific purpose, which for all intents and purposes, is very quote unquote normal. And when he got to the police and laid out his case, initially, oh yeah, oh sure, let's go there, let's go and arrest them. And this is what they did is wrong. But then when they got there, and the moment those people then said, oh, he's a homo, the story then changed. The person who then spent the night in jail became the person who came to report. And it's injustices like this that makes it understandable when victims are usually very hesitant about going to the police to report, even though what they have gone through is a very acknowledgeable injustice. But but when you go there, it just compounds it. There are stories and stories of people who there's another story of somebody who was housing someone, and the guy stayed for a few days in his place and then disappeared with his things. And so he went to the police to report, and they did a whole lot of tracking until they found the guy. But then the moment the guy came into their custody, all he had to do was say, "Oh, but he's a homo," and then that's it. The story then changed. They forgot the entire relationship they had with these complainants who had told them this person stole from him. They forgot even the fact that this person is a criminal, like a thief who came and made away with somebody's belongings. That has been verified. You have verified that this person stole these things. But apparently the crime of being a homosexual is greater. And so, yeah, they threw him into the jail with the person who stole from him. So it's not a very encouraging outlook or situation for the queer community. It doesn't engender a lot of trust when we have these very real relationships with the police or with the law.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, Walter. Yeah, I find that the problem but the problem is also including the police force and just their inability or refusal to actually follow due course in this reporting. So let's step back into the journalist sphere now. And I wanted to ask Tim, you do a lot of posts. I remember your recent post about Bobrisky and what is going on right now. How was it putting together that article? Who did you speak with, and how are you able to ensure that you had factual reporting? Hi, Tim.
Yeah.
Hello.
So the process of writing that essay basically started with pitching the article to an editor. So luckily, I was able to find a queer editor who worked in one of these publications, who worked in that media house I pitched to. So I pitched directly to the queer editor who, I told them what I wanted to write about. Okay, this is going on with Bobrisky, and this is the story I want to tell. And he was able to read my pitch and say, okay, I think this is an important story that needs to be told, and he approved the pitch. So in writing articles like that, the first thing I try to do is just do some basic research, speak to who I need to speak to, just to gather materials or to verify what has happened or what, just the facts that we have out there. For the Bobrisky piece, that was an piece. So I didn't have to do a lot of interaction with Bobrisky stuff, I didn't do any interviews. Or in other pieces where interviews are necessary.
Recording in progress.
To for them, okay, I'm writing this is where it's going to be published. I try to estimate.
Vincent, I'm so sorry to cut in, Tim. Vincent, can you please mute your mic?
Oh shit! Sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Sorry,
so,
Tim, please go ahead.
Yeah, so I also try to estimate how far the reach of the article would be, just so whoever is getting interviewed has, I guess, an accurate idea of the level of exposure they might get from that article. And when I've done that, I then give them some time to sit with it, because I understand that not a lot of queer people are out, not a lot of queer people want that attention that comes with being in the media as well. So I give them some time to sit with it and let me know if they are comfortable with sharing their story. And sometimes if they prefer anonymity, then of course I guarantee them their anonymity. So either by changing their names and just changing the location or stuff, little details that makes them unidentifiable in the article. Aside that, I think one other thing I try to do is to protect their dignity as well in the interview process. So like details that seem invasive or not even necessary to the story I'm telling, I don't ask questions around those. So that way they have like some form of privacy as well. And what else? Yeah, I try to like avoid sensationalism in the reporting of these stories. Like, so I know when the Bobrisky issue was going on, a lot of people were concerned about like, oh, what is her gender? What was this? What's that like? And I saw that even mainstream media were trying to tell us that, oh, but the police have said they've checked and this and that. And those are details that are very irrelevant to what's going on. That's charging, if you're charging her to court, you're charging her to court for a particular crime. Report issues around the crime you say you're charging her to court for. Has she been found guilty? What's the sentence? Like, those are the things that the public need to know. The public has no business with like anything else. So like in writing that article, I just like made sure I stuck to the facts, to the story I wanted to tell, which is that, okay, this person is someone who may be a trans woman who is now being scapegoated by the Nigerian police force, the politicians and all of that. And this is how it can affect everybody else too. And those are just, those were the facts. And those facts were what I stuck to in telling that story. And also when I report stories on queer people as well, I always try to, I guess, get the perspective of a number of people as well, because the members of the queer community, they are not like this monolithic group, like we all don't have the same experiences. So in telling stories, individuals, there's always that need to involve like diverse voices. So you're not just telling a single narrative or like just in an echo chamber talking like giving just your own thoughts or just your own perspective as well. Yeah, so that's it basically. Like whatever story I'm telling about queer people, I always like try to treat them the same way I want to be treated if I was a subject as well. Like these are personal stories, and so I just like try to handle it with as much care as possible, as much care as I would want my own story to be handled with. Yes.
All right, thank you so much for that. Now, so when we see stories like this, sometimes we think, oh, it's that they don't have the right information, or more like we can see clearly what the agenda is at times on stories like the ones that we see with the misreporting. Now, give us an insight, let's say like a fly on the wall perspective. Have there been conversations that you have been privy to where journalists have actually talked about sensationalizing a story and leaving the truth behind? Have there been cases like that?
Yeah, in a way I have witnessed stuff like that, because there's been times where I've pitched stories to mainstream media, and this is not even just like Nigerian publications, this is international publications as well. And because they have an idea of what queerness is, or what queerness looks like in a country like Nigeria, they already have that mindset of what queerness looks like in Nigeria. So they want stories that fit that preconceived notion that they already have. So even when you've pitched them a particular subject, like in writing that article, they then start asking, oh, but where's this? Like, can you impute this? Like, I've had a situation where I was writing an article about, I think, the challenges of being trans in Nigeria, and I interviewed, I think 5 or 6 trans people living in Nigeria, and I think the editor got back to me and was like, oh, well, what's the pain? What's the pain they felt? Like, we really need to. And at some point, the editor started asking me to put my own experiences into the story. And I had to tell her, like, that's not the story I'm writing. So sometimes you have editors who just want that I don't know, maybe trauma porn. So it doesn't matter what story you're telling where people you want that like input of trauma or like just something to show that like, okay, something drastic is happening in Nigeria. Like we do know that something drastic is happening to queer people in Nigeria, but those are not the only stories that are coming out of Nigeria about queer people. Like in as much as queer people are going through a lot, we have like we suffer pain, but we also suffer, or we also have like our own stories of joy. We also have like queer people live full lives like everyone else. So if you always want like writers who cover like the queer experience to focus on the trauma, to focus on the pain, to focus on the suffering, then who tells the stories about like the love, the joy, the family, the community, and all of those things people experience as well in Nigeria. So that's one experience I've had where like people just want to write about the trauma without focusing on anything else. Then I've also found that sometimes they're just very disrespectful in their reporting of things, because you could write an article, ask the writer who is informed on queer terminology and all of that, and then you give it to an editor who is probably not queer or not as informed, and they start making so many changes to the language and like using very offensive language in the article just because they want that shock value. I remember this article I wrote where I interviewed this trans woman who was sharing her experience about how like she had been unable to find work as a trans woman, and that had led her into like the sex trade. And I particularly use that word sex trade because it is a trade. Like at this point, she's been coerced into doing something she doesn't want to do just because she cannot find work in Nigeria. And in editing this article, I think the editor changed that sentence to be like, oh, most trans women end up being prostitutes. And
I knew it was going to be prostitutes.
I had to flag that immediately, and I was like, oh, I'm not a goat. There's a reason why I didn't use the word prostitute.
Yeah.
Because we already know that in Nigerian public setting, like that word prostitute already comes with a negative connotation. There's no way you say someone is a prostitute and they're looking at you as a victim or as like, you get. So I'm like, there's like, I know why I didn't use that word. And there's no reason why you should change sex trade to prostitute, because obviously they are trying to get that shock value, like, oh, now she's into prostitution and all of that. And obviously, when you portray someone in that light, nobody reading that article is reading from a place of sympathy or reading from a place of understanding and all of that.
There's bias already.
Yeah, exactly. So I had to flag that immediately and like change that back. Like change that line to what it was, because there's no way I'm letting you publish that article with that line. And sometimes it's your name on the line as well. So you have to like go at it with these editors as well, because when that article comes out, is your name under the heading, like everybody thinks you wrote that article. So if there's a language there that you're not comfortable with, if there's something that has been said that, or something that's been changed that you don't agree with, up to you to actually flag that and just like let them know that no, that's disrespectful language, that's incorrect language, that's not how it happened, that's not the story I'm trying to tell, and you have to like change it to what it was. Like there's sometimes where I've had to say like, okay, if that's the case, then there's no need to publish the article. Like I know that's difficult sometimes to do, because I mean people do make a living off like journalistic writing and all of that, but it gets so bad sometimes that you just have to say, if you're not telling the story that I want to tell, or the story I've pitched to you, then you don't have to publish it. Like there's no point.
Which is a great stance, actually. I think that's a way to actually also stop the misinformation by media houses who just want to sensationalize it. Now, Desmond, has there been, can you share your experience of something like that? One experience that has happened to you like that, where they have put the needs of the media house above truth?
So I would say this in my experience, sensationalization happens kind of really often, just from the commissioning of the story, because naturally when a media house commissions a story, they want it to be read, they want clicks, they want attention. So in my experience, when I first started writing, oftentimes I would write a story, and what would happen is when the story is about to come out, or when the story has already come out, I would say a headline that doesn't quite reflect the story that I had written, the story I had pitched, the story I had been commissioned for, the story I believed in. And sometimes the difference is not, it's not huge. Sometimes it's just like a little thing that I can ignore. Other times it kind of changes the entire story. There's a particular essay I had written. This was a personal essay, but this was not like a reported feature or something. It was a personal essay about a very personal thing that mattered to me and my relationship with my sexuality. I believe this was in 2021, January. It was supposed to be about something that I talked about my relationship with my aunties growing up, and how that just gave me space to connect with my femininity. And I was just trying to use beauty routines to kind of make the point. When the story came out, it was framed as I risk my life to wear nail polish, and I remember seeing it, being like, this I don't know who this is, because this has nothing to do with me. I didn't say this at any point in time. So yeah, so that's not something that happened. There's also another instance, I think. Actually, maybe that same year, I'd written a profile on a designer, and when the story came out, it was about how the designer was changing the queer scape in Nigeria. Luckily, the designer was great sport and understood what was going on behind the scene, because I had to explain, I had to email, and just kind of like, if you read the article, at no point is queerness even mentioned. But I understand the editor is doing this because, that gives them clicks. That makes people click in, that makes people turn in, because, and also the funny thing too about stuff like that is when people see it, when I started my career, I didn't realize I didn't have that much power over the headlines. So when I would say it, I would kind of just let it go. I would just let it be. And over time, I realized that since people aren't reading, people are only seeing these headlines, that's the narrative that sticks. So at this point, I'm in my life and my career, I do insist, like what Tim is saying, I kind of go back and I insist that if the story isn't the story that I pitched, isn't the story that I commissioned, then it can't go out. So that is my own experience with it.
Thank you so much, Vincent. So I wanted to this question I'm throwing out to Vincent, Walter, and Tim rather. Would there ever be, for example, now I'm coming from the outside, well, not really from the outside, because I'm comms, I deal with reporters and journalists a lot, but can the public really trust headlines now based on these experiences that you three have shared? What's your take on it? That's for Tim, Walter, or Vincent. Anyone who wants to come up and take it.
I'm sorry, what's the question exactly?
Okay, I'm saying that, can we really trust headlines? What do you think? Are there cases where you can tell the public that you can really trust these headlines? Or are there cases where you say, don't trust these ones, but at least for this media house, you can? With these experiences of media houses trying to sensationalize stories, change headlines, change narratives, can we really trust headlines about LGBTQ plus issues?
No, we can't.
Right.
And there is a reason why these media houses play these games that they're playing fast and loose with headlines, because they know that is what oftentimes that is all everyone even reads, what most people read. Oftentimes, especially when it's on the social media landscape, the headline is what people run with. They just screenshot that headline and then they post it, and then it starts generating a whole other narrative that sometimes isn't even what is in the article. And so they know this, and that is why the headline, and sometimes maybe like the I don't know what they call that thing, the tagline, I think, the phrase that comes after the headline that gives you an insight into what the article is about. So those two,
Yeah.
I don't think I think it's important for things to be gotten right from those two, because whatever you put on the headline determines what the narrative becomes. Oftentimes, when you see people posting these things and then you read the article, you'll be like, but that's not what the article says. That's when somebody posts a screenshot or the link to an article with the headline, and then they make a post out of what the headline says, and then they start generating engagements. There are some people I've run into some conversations online where some people will then read the article and come out with, but that's not what people are saying, isn't what the article says. But then you look at what they are reacting to, and it is the headline, and that's the problem. You know, I feel like when the headlines aren't trustworthy because of this situation, and so we should get it right from the headline before you talk about the main body of the work.
All right, thank you so much, Walter. Does anybody else want to weigh in?
Yes, I'm not one of the people that asked the question, but I have something to say.
Absolutely, please go ahead.
Okay, so I think that we're making the I would think very expensive assumption that the media just involves the organized. I don't think that is completely true.
Well, sorry, we lost you for a second there.
Newspapers.
You said the media doesn't what?
I think the media is not made up of just the larger organized media houses that have publications and have things like that. I think
Oh,
the media
yes.
is much larger. And so I am going to weigh in as somebody that is an outsider to the organized media. And I'm going to say a few things. The world is currently an economy of attention. So our engagement with media, queer media, non-queer media, should be at the very least very critical. I am not saying trust or not trust. I'm saying there has to be a balance somewhere. If you do not trust something, don't just not trust it. Don't just accuse it. Correct it. By that I mean, if you're on Twitter, for example, you see somebody tweet something stupid, the first thing I notice is if you have a check mark. If you have a check mark, I would quietly block you. I don't have hot takes about stupid people. The reason is that people engage it angrily, people engage it calling the person names, and they are amplifying his stupidity. You don't have to. I'll just quietly report and block, then make a different tweet. If I really have a hot take, I will screenshot you without your handle, and I will hot take. We need to learn to responsibly engage the media. And I'm not just talking about, because I'm not an activist, and I recognize I'm not an activist. I will never change. Media houses are doing what they are doing because it's good business. We, as the consumers of media, need to learn how to save our attention. And I'm saying this as queer people, I'm saying this as straight people, I'm saying this as people generally. And then when media houses play with these things in ways that they affect us. For example, I remember one of the issues I was doing, and the police was threatening me of putting my name in one of the stories. They eventually put a name of my client who was a victim that the police had arrested, and they named him name and surname in the article. And he lost his job, he lost his relationship. A lot of things happened around that period. And I remember going to the police headquarters and dealing with the PRO. I told the PRO that Vanguard and Punch published this thing, naming names and surname. But this boy was exonerated by the courts about a month ago. Remember, he said, if I tried it, my name will be on the next one. And that's the point I want to raise. I laughed and I said, the only reason why you're not seeing help is because my name is not on any of the publications. If they are, we will do a few lessons on the law. We need to learn how to enforce our rights. And I would, in talking about how to engage the media, also how to engage media-addled people, you need to as I would usually say, I don't know whether I'll have the opportunity to say this again, so I want to get it out of the way. One of the things I want to say again, if you are engaging with the police, with the media, with anybody, I don't know if we remember the interview that they did with James Brown. He was one of the 57 at Egbeda, but he was not detained. I don't know if you remember the interview where there was not a cause.
No one can forget. Nobody caught me, and they did not caught me. Is that the interview?
That interview is a masterclass on how to deal with the media. Deny, deny, deny. Your life is not a tool for activism. Of course, you can be a martyr. I will stand behind you. But if you're going to be a martyr, I hope you understand what the implications are, and you're willing to stand by it. If your plan is not to be a martyr, you should learn how to deal with the media. So as somebody whom this thing means your literal life, you need to learn how to engage with the media. One of them, do not amplify stupidity. Number two, amplify the good things that the media is doing. I say this every Pride Month. I say, this is another June. Remember that your hot take doesn't change anything. So just decide to find the good stories and amplify them. Just decide to find the good stories and amplify them, because there are two ways that I'm seeing this. There is the part of the homophobic media posting what they are posting against queer people. Yes, there is that. There is the second part of queer media doing an opposite, which is not exactly the best thing, where they are presenting queer people as flat individuals, as people that do not have anything about them except the fact that maybe they are queer. I mean, it's important for more queer people to come out in the media, but it's also important that people are not reduced to their sexuality. I'm trying to say this, but just when you're listening to me, correct it for all the politically correct ways of saying it. But I need to get this out. We should learn how to engage with the media. And I'm not just talking about organized media. I'm talking about social media. I'm talking about responses in comment sections on Instablock. A lot of times when there is a story, there is a queer story on Instablock, I go to the comment sections and I realize that while people are being homophobic, queer people sometimes do not understand what is at stake. There is a responsible way to have those arguments. Bring superior arguments. Bring counterfacts. That's the second thing. The third thing I'm talking about is that we as individuals, as people, should learn our rights. Learn exactly that you have a right to privacy. Learn exactly that you have a right not to respond to every question. You don't have to answer. Not everything requires a clap back. Some things you just have to look at people like they are incredibly stupid and move along with your life, because your life depends on your ability to defend yourself. Yes, so I'm going to go back again to edit what I meant to say with this. I'm going to go back and go over what I'm talking about again. If we're dealing with, I don't know whether we can trust the headlines or not, but if you meet a headline that is false from the stories and you are a queer person, you have the responsibility to just quote the correct part and quote the headline if you have to do. For example, there are articles that Punch will release about queer people. I'll just go to the counter this thing, quote it, and quote it on their this thing to show that they are lying. That's one. Number two, I would encourage us to engage with the media critically. We should not engage as if we should understand that our lives depend on these things. While it's just a game of numbers for them, where they just want clicks on their stories, we should realize that for us, the stakes are different. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, we should understand that the stakes are different. So we should learn how to speak. I mean, I'm talking about we should all get media trained if possible. Like, I can't say that. But we should learn how to engage the media. We should learn how to engage authorities. By that, I mean police, because it will affect what the police reports. You understand what I mean? For example, you don't go to... We had a story where there were queer people that were arrested, and they went to the police and told the police that they are partners. that this is my wife, and the police doesn't have any business knowing that. That's your private life. You should not be telling the police about that. And I think that this may be a problem of the way that stories about queer people have been framed generally. I don't think we realize what the stakes are. I think that I think that the queer media or media people that are queer also need to learn how to frame stories in such a way that you don't encourage people to act stupidly. Does this make it? I'm trying to ask whether this makes sense, because that's the point I'm trying to make, please. I'm trying to say it as correctly.
Okay, let me weigh in on that,
Please, thank
framing
you.
the story. I I understand where you're coming from. So what TS does is that we try to put everything as neutral as possible, but at the same time, we also try to make sure that it is positive. So I understand the framing, but that is us, and we have a structured communication strategy. Now, for people who don't, for individuals. So what did you say?
I'm not talking about tears.
So now for individuals is where sometimes we do worry about stories that they put out. So let me come to my next question of how do you think organizations should react to these stories in the media? Anybody can weigh in, Walter, Tim, or Vincent. How do you think organizations can help this rampant issue of misinformation? Is it that we need to do training for our community members, or is it that we need to get involved in every story's comment section? What do you think is the right way to go about this? Hi, Tim.
I think we assume when we say misreporting, I think we've been focusing on the people who are actually vindictively reporting falsely against LGBTQI individuals, or like the issues affecting LGBTQI individuals. So we're talking about like Instablog, what's this other one? You know them, like
Linda Ikeji.
Yeah. So I think we're focusing on those, but we already know that these are troll media, like these are troll blogs. These, like, there's no amount of engagement or education you want to give these kind of blogs or these kind of media houses that would get them to a point where they can do responsible reporting on any issue at all, not just queer issues. We've seen the way Linda Ikeji reports on even day-to-day issues affecting maybe celebrities or public figures, or anything. Like, there's no responsible reporting there. There's no ethical reporting. So I don't think there's any form of media training we want to give these people that would get them to a point where they report queer issues in a factual, nuanced, and ethical way. So I think the conversation should focus on those publications who try or who think they are telling queer stories or shining the light on queer existence in Nigeria. So I'm talking about the Zikokos, the Vanguard, the Republics, those ones who feel like, okay, we acknowledge that queer people live in Nigeria, and we also want to tell their stories as well, the same way we tell the stories of heterosexual people. So let's tell their stories as well. So we see a lot of times queer people, the stories of queer people are told on Zikoko, and okay, that's good. You're reporting queer stories in a way that shows that, okay, these people have lives, they're living and all of that. But even with these media houses who are trying to tell queer stories in a way that is not so ignorant, we find that they probably don't have enough media training as well. They don't have enough training on issues around sexuality, gender identity, and all of that. So it leads to also some wrongful terminologies being used, some like issues that they might think is not relevant or are relevant or like to the individuals you've reported about. And you also see that because, again, they are media houses that want to make a profit, there's still that sensationalization of these stories. Like, I remember, for instance, like going back to this thing about headlines and all of that, I remember a Zikoko story where I think the caption was, the headline for the story was, "Things Women Do at Bridal Showers." And they put this two line where it was a girl reporting her experience of like kissing women at the bridal showers and all of that. So when you read the headline and you read the two liner that followed, it seemed like, oh, so this is what women do at bridal showers. They go there and kiss other women, and you think your wife is straight, and you think your girlfriend is straight, and you're letting her go to a bridal shower and all of that. But then you click on this article and there were like 10 other stories of heterosexual women talking about the smoking, the this, the what, so many other things that they do at bridal shower. And it was
So that was just done to just grab attention.
It was literally one person amongst the 10 people who spoke in that article that said, oh, I did this as well. That's to say, the kissing of the women was not even all she did there. She did so many other things and kissed a woman. Well, that was like the headline. So, and this is Zikoko, who we know, like, okay, tells queer stories in a way that like actually humanizes queer people. But I don't think they have that training. I don't think they realize that these are people's lives that you're reporting. And at the end of the day, the people reading these stories, it's not just queer people who engage with the stories. You're telling these stories to the larger Nigerian audience who also could be homophobic, who could be queerphobic. So you have to report the stories in a way that doesn't expose the queer community to either more hate, more violence, more like online harassment from the other readers, because it's not just like, we know you're a queer-friendly article, but it's not just queer people who engage with your platform anymore. Other people engage with it as well. You also have cases where like, you've done the, I think most people, because as writers, we work mostly with the editors and like all of that. So you've done the initial battle with your editor, and your editor has, you and your editor have managed to agree on like, okay, what story is going to be put out and all of that. But you also find out that in this day of Instagram, Twitter, and all of that, you have the social media managers. There's still one person who would post that story on the internet. And that person is going to come up with a caption for the Instagram post, or with like, so that person needs training as well, because it's not enough for your editor to have the training or to have the correct terminology to use in the article, but the person who would then post about the story, what are they going to say about the story? I remember when I did the Bobrisky story, like we all know, Bobrisky has told us her name is Bobrisky. She's the mummy of Lagos. That's all Bobrisky has identified herself as in the last couple of years. And I did this Bobrisky story, and in the entire article, I had referred to her as Bobrisky. That didn't change. But I think when the social media person posted the story and did like the slides that went with the story, I saw there was a sentence there, Bobrisky, whose real name is this. And I'm looking at it like, who asked you for that information? Who told you Bobrisky is not her real name? Why do you have the idea that? So this ties into the fact that like most people don't understand that for queer people, for trans people, names are an important part of
Names are important,
yeah, names, their pronouns, these are important parts of their identity. You like, whether you went to nursery school or primary school with somebody and know them by a different name at some point in their lives, if somebody has told you this is my name, that's their real name. It's not on you to now tell the general public, oh, this person's name is this, but the real name you should know. Like, that's not relevant. And that's because these people do not have the training. They do not know that this is an important part of people's identity in a way that is meaningful to them. So I feel like if there are trainings to not just like, I think, like I said, I don't think the training should be to these media houses that we know are trolls, but like, let's focus on the media houses that are actually trying to tell queer stories in a way that's meaningful. So like, give them the training, give them the language that they need, let them know that these are the things that you can do. These are the little things that you think doesn't matter, but actually matters. And also like in interviewing like queer people, there's a way you couch your questions that there will be like more context story, so that when people actually read the article, they get enough context to form like a general opinion or like a very like unbiased opinion on what this queer person has gone through. I'll give an example. There was an article about, I think, 2 queer women who are both married and they are in a relationship with each other, but like they're married to men, obviously. So you've asked all these questions: how did you meet? This, how do you meet up since you both are married and all of that? And okay, they're answering the questions because that's the question you've asked them. And these questions they're answering, this story you're telling, is just telling the story of, okay, 2 women who are queer who meet up with each other once in a while and like have a relationship with each other while being married. You haven't asked them any questions about what it's like living that life. You haven't asked them any question that would give the context that there is compulsory heteronormativity being like pushed on these women in Nigeria that have forced them to that stage where, okay, now they have to be married. Now they have to live these separate lives as queer women. Like, so anybody reading that article, they're just like, wow, so now waiting women, they do be these. That's all they're getting from the story. They're not getting any nuance. They're not getting any context. They're not getting nothing because you haven't even bothered to ask the right questions that would frame these stories in a way that would be meaningful. So I think that,
well, like you said, I mean, something that you said that you do is making sure that the pitch is right and the angle from where you are coming from with the story is properly placed. So for an article like that, it's just obvious that their aim is not to tell a nuanced approach to these stories. Their aim is just to, again, put out a sensational story about 2 married women who are in a relationship with each other. So again, objective matters, context matters, and that matters as well. And that's why I feel like it's very important for someone like you, who is independent, Vincent as well, and even Walter as well, that your independent platforms are able to tell these stories in the right way, in the right light, weaving it in a narrative that pushes the nuances of these situations. Let me come to Walter. Hi, Walter. I don't know, what else can you like give us a strategy? What else is Keto Diaries doing in this scenario? Is there a strategy for how to combat these things, or how do you approach these things, or what would you suggest that a platform like yours helps to move the needle in correct reporting of LGBT plus issues?
Hi. So there was a certain kind of an initiative that Keto Diaries engaged in a few years ago, which was the How I Resist campaign. It was this thing where we used pictures. We asked community members to send in pictures. Some of them, the intent was to use words and pictures to tell a story, like a very quick story. So there were people who sent in their pictures, but they wanted the pictures to be darkened so that they are not recognizable, but you can see from the silhouette that it's a person there. And then they will say on top of that picture is now a few words about how, because the campaign is How I Resist, so the few words about how they stand in their truths, whether it be in a closeted form or in an out form, but whatever it is, as long as it's something that speaks to your authenticity. So those words, very short, very brief, are put on the pictures, and then we share them routinely, like every other day in the month of I think that was in April of that year. So this gained a lot of traction because it wasn't some long article that we're supposed to read, and then it had some pictures. So it was sort of like there's this so you're scrolling and then you see the picture, and then you pause to look at the picture, and then you see the write-up, and then you read, and then so there was this whole engagement that it generated that was different from what we would get if we had published a story for people to read. So I think especially when in this age where attention, the societal attention span is really very brief, I think it's important to when we put out stories, as we do, we try to employ medium that is quick and gets people's attention quicker, and keeps it focused for just that brief moment where they're interested. So really it's because what we do is tell a lot of stories. I tend to want to look at ways where we can generate information or create knowledge for people with stories as quick as we can and as digestible as we can. We haven't done anything else like that since then, but that was one memorable period that I can think of. And if we're going to do something like that, it's just going to be around that kind of medium where we make stories available for people and quickly digestible. So all this is to say that when for working with any strategy that involves creating information for people to read should come. I think even oh God, I think Zikoko did they do things like this too. I've seen them employ this kind of medium where the first there'll be like all this slide of pictures, and then the first slide is a question regarding what's the story that they want to tell, and then as you're swiping, each slide tells the story. Each slide is really an answer to the first question that they asked, but it's really as you're swiping, is the story that they are telling, and it's very engaging, and it's very brief, and it captures everybody, whether you're a reader or not. So that's really what I was talking about, where we sort of like try to trick people into knowing what we want them to know, without them feeling like they're wasting their time engaging. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Before I move on to the question and answer, does anybody have any final words they want to say? Tim, Zikora, or Vincent?
Sorry, yes, I was speaking.
Okay.
I did not know that my microphone was off. So I want
Oh.
to say something about the way that we engage the media. Your original question was what we could do to affect the way that, I think your question was along the lines of what we can do at scale to correct some of the misinformation. I think that one of what we can engage is maybe community.
Maybe what?
With the media, how to give interviews. If you're caught doing anything, if you're questioned, if you have to report to the police under certain circumstances, if you have to appear in court, what are the ways that you engage with these people? Because in my experience, I've noticed that a lot of people do not know how to do these things, and that is what puts them in trouble. Something else I want to point out along those lines as well is that we should learn how to, and I'm going to say this and ask you to apply as much kindness as you can in listening to me. We should learn how to be more forgiving. A lot of times I've seen on social media where we have impossible standards for allies that make honest mistakes. Yes. And I see it a lot with stories that are published by publications like Zikoko. They will make mistakes. It's part of the process. We should learn how not to crucify them because we want them to be perfect in their presentation. Stories are political, and as a to understand, even if it's not perfect, and I'm asking you to take this with as much as you can. So first, what I'm saying is that number one, we should do probably trainings for people generally, how to engage with the police, how to engage with the media. because there seems to be a subtext when I listen to speeches like this, or when people talk about things like this, that the media has to like you, or that the police has to like you. No, you can deal with the police, even the most homophobic people, even the most homophobic media. It's part of media training. You learn how to present yourself in digestible chunks. And if not in digestible chunks, you learn how to fight in the way you present yourself. There's something I like to say, and I would like to point it out in this webinar because it's very important. We're not in America. And I understand that we have to lean into learning how other jurisdictions deal with similar stories, or how other jurisdictions treat people. I think we should find ways to vernacularize our perceptions of our rights. Yeah, we should find ways to localize it. What will a community, what will gay rights, what will queer rights, what will LGBTQ rights look like in the Nigerian context? What are the rights that you have currently? I don't think we have enough knowledge of those rights. And so people make very avoidable mistakes. For example, you have a right in Section 32 to a private life. Because you have a right to a private life, you should learn how to enforce that right to a private life. I'm very alarmed when I hear people go to the police and the police is punishing the victim. Yes, I will intervene sometimes, but I'm just one person. There is only so much I can do. You need to learn when the police is trying to turn matters and ask you, are you gay? That question doesn't have anything to do with why you're in the police station. I was robbed, I was kidnapped, stick to that. If the police is beating you, even if they are asking you, you do not. I saw somebody tell me, oh, the policeman talks to me nicely, so I confided in him. And I was alarmed. Why are you confiding in a Nigerian policeman? Do we forget that because sometimes I want to say, don't forget that you're in Nigeria. You are in Nigeria. Realize that the Nigerian police lies. You realize that when media people are speaking to you, it's not like they like you. You need to learn how to use your words. So you need to learn to protect yourself. I tell people, your kid told you, go to the police, report. Don't say they should not investigate. Tell them you want to do an incident report. A lot of times, if you're dealing with the media, they are interviewing you. Rehearse the interview before then. Ask them for a list of questions before then, if you're in the position to do that. If you're not, treat yourself with kindness. Don't every interview is not an opportunity to get all your rights wholesale at once. Yes, it's an opportunity to self-preserve. So I think we should also learn to self-preserve and present ourselves in the best possible light. Yes.
Thank you so much for that, Sakar.
Yes, okay. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's move into the Q&A session. If you have a question, just please raise your hand and we'll bring you up so you can ask your question. Let me just reach out to my technical person if there are any raised hands. Do we have any questions? You can raise your hand or you can just write it out in the chat and then I can read it out. Let me give you a few seconds to do that. Or if you look at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a Q&A tab there. I have to click on that. Okay. All right, so just please drop your questions in the chat and then we would answer them. Okay, I see a question from Alexandra Madhavan. Are there any best practices for responding to misinformation in the media for organizations and activists? Please, anyone can take this. The question again is, are there any best practices for responding to misinformation in the media for organizations and activists?
Okay, I think,
thank you.
yeah, I think for organizations like TERS, I'll say the best way to combat like negative misinformation from like mainstream media is to put out like positive information from mainstream media as well. So if you have like those one or two media houses that you've noticed that like, okay, they try a bit in reporting queer stories, and they're trying to like platform queer voices, or they have like queer writers in their organizations, queer editors and stuff like that. Those are the media houses that you can reach out to and give a more nuanced and more contextual information on what has happened, for instance. And those are the media houses as well that you need to organize trainings for as well. So like when you have the subjects trainings, or like the trainings on how to respond to the media, or how to report issues ethically, like those are the organizations you want to reach out to, because I think training the journalists or the content creators, or like whoever works in these media houses who are already like trying to report queer stories in I think some form of respectful manner, like giving them more training, giving them the correct terminology, the correct language, reduces the likelihood of them using offensive language as well. And then sometimes people are not aware of their own biases as well. So they might think they are not homophobic. They might think, oh, I support gay rights and all of that. Or they also have internalized biases that they do not even know that they have. So like giving them this training then encourages them to reflect on their own biases and prejudice, and like sensitizes them to like understand like the unique challenges that are being faced by queer people. That way they're able to like approach topics affecting the community with more empathy and more accuracy and more like context. And when they have that knowledge that, okay, these are what queer people are going through, in those settings now, when like say there's a Premium Times article saying queer men are targeting heterosexual men and killing them and robbing them and taking money from them, then you have like maybe publications like Zikoko where you can pitch the accurate events and like say, okay, this is actually what's happening, this is what we are going through. We have some people in police custody and like someone is being victimized and we need this story told. And you can then like have them tell the story in a way that actually gives the correct picture of things. And because obviously they have the training that you've already given them previously on how to report events affecting queer issues or affecting queer people, then I think the reporting then is like balanced.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Tim. So my next question is from Edmond Lucas. It says, hi all, question for the panel and particularly for Zikora and Tim. Have you seen any recent changes in police behavior when it comes to the police dealing with LGBTQI+ organizations? I also wanted to know whether you thought positive changes is more likely to come through changes in societal attitudes or legislative development. Let me take the question again. Have you seen any recent changes in police behavior when it comes to the police dealing with LGBTI+ organizations? Also, do you think positive change is more likely to come through changes in societal attitudes or legislative developments? It says question for Zikora or Tim. Maybe Zikora, you can take this one. Thank you.
Okay, this is quite the question, and I really like it. Okay, let me try to engage this. Have there been changes in police dealings? I'll give you specific examples. You know, there was a case that we did, and the police kept threatening me. We're going to charge. We're going to charge. And when we charge, you will see. So they got to court after they had charged. And at the police, I was very nice and very subservient, very please and thank you, sweet. When we got to court, and I basically told the judge that there is no evidence for the accusation, that if they had any evidence, they should bring it out. That I've not seen any evidence for the accusation that they are making. The police was a little gobsmacked. And so when they started going through the evidence that they had, I said, that's not, you are accusing for something that does not exist in the law. It's not a crime in Nigeria to be gay. If you have proof that it's a crime, present the proof. And I like the look on their face when they realized that they could not find a law in Nigeria under which to charge. And, you know, the case got thrown out. And the next time I had to deal with the police, and the moment I walked in, the man said, oh, is that gay lawyer? I said, sir, are you making... Yes. So I just looked at him and said, sir, are you making assumptions about my sexuality? Because I don't remember that coming up in conversation. He said, no. I'm just saying, you know, and this was somebody that last week was very rude. Say, no, I'm just saying that you're always representing gay people. So what I'm saying is that changes happen a lot of times when you have dealt with them for a long time, when you've engaged with them. I've discovered that in Nigeria, in my experience, people don't change by their attempts to educate them. I work with Chimdima sometimes, and sometimes Alex, and they'll say, oh, this person has come for training at tears. And I'm like, no. In my experience, Nigerians don't like niceness. There is also the dealing in niceness with them, and sometimes dealing in calculated force. So the strategy is mixed, and I don't know whether, I like to assume that we're making progress because it's good to be optimistic and all of that, but the progress is slow, but it is happening. For example, if you check some of the stories that are published in the media in the last few years, forget traditional media, Punch and Guardian. Yes, they have a reach. Yes, they misrepresent stories a lot of times. But even about that, I'll come back to that. You check that the newer media organizations, even if their efforts are awkward, even if their efforts are not completely perfect, you realize that their stories are a little more nuanced. They are a little more willing to humanize the queer people that they report. You can see that their stories are a little not as homophobic. I mean, the journey is long, but we should understand that this journey moves. You know, it can be slow, but it's a journey that we will all take together. That's one. Number two, you talked about legislation versus public perception.
Societal attitudes.
Societal attitudes, yeah. Legislation and societal attitudes. In a perfect society, legislation is driven by societal attitudes. In Nigeria and in the world is not a perfect place. We have learned that legislation is not only driven by societal attitudes, it's driven by agenda, it's driven by religion, it's driven by all of this. So I don't know which works better. But even as the something I will advocate for is for, in either case, let's be, the word I want to use is not tactful and it's not discreet. It's a word that joins these two things. Let's realize in engaging these things, how to engage. Sometimes there are public hearings about legislations and I deliberately go there. I go there to disagree with parts of it or agree with parts of it. I have written white papers. Somebody was asking how organizations can engage in these things. This is one of the ways that organizations can engage. When there is a legislation or a policy to be passed by governments, there are usually public hearings, there are usually invitations for white papers, there are usually all those kind of things. I believe that organizations should look into influencing these things. Along that line, there was the previous question you asked about best practices for organizations dealing with misinformation. I think organizations in Nigeria need to learn the lost art of writing op-eds, maybe not personally, but through third parties or stuff like that. When there is terrible news about it, somebody should investigate the story. We can pay the person, we can get somebody to invest, because I've seen a lot of publications and I DM people quickly. I DM and sometimes I threaten, sometimes I just shout. But I've seen a lot of publications and tweets where people, their primary source is the Nigerian police. And I'm always shocked because why do we suddenly believe the Nigerian police? Why are we trying to believe that the Nigerian police is the bastion of truth? It has never been true. So I think that if there is misinformation and they are saying this organization told us, we have the responsibility as individuals, as organizations that are doing these things, pay people, find people that will do it. Do it yourself. Write an op-ed. Investigate the stories that they have put out. And for example, in the last event where the Nigerian police was reporting that queer men were going around raping straight men in Lagos, there is a literal video of those men saying, "We are straight men. We just victimize queer men because it's on video." I expected that maybe an influencer will talk about it or somebody will write an op-ed challenging that report. But I don't think that happened. I think we should also look at those. We should look at white papers influencing policies. We should question government policy. It's not set in stone. I get that there is the victim part of it. Yes, queer people are oppressed and all of that. But we should learn how to take destiny into our own hands. So I get the reporting, I get the complaining, I understand all of that. But the rights as they currently stand are not completely against you. There is something that can be done. So
Okay.
It's a mix. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Takara, for that. So our next question comes from Neoma Nwobuchi. Thank you so much for a wonderful panel. The suggestion to provide media trainings for queer persons and allies is so powerful. And I was wondering what this would practically look like, especially with the infiltration of queer spaces. How do we, or how can we localize or vernacularize these media trainings to suit a Nigerian context? Does anybody want to take that?
Sorry, I didn't get that. Sorry.
Okay. It says that or they say that they like the idea of trainings of the community members, but then we have cases where people have infiltrated these trainings as anti-right people. That how do we then organize this? What's the best way to organize these trainings for Nigerian context so that people and allies are protected while engaging during these trainings? Anyone can take that.
Okay, I'm just going to answer shortly. I think I've spoken a lot, but I'm just going to speak very shortly from experience. The first time I went to a police station and I was speaking to somebody behind the counter, the first things that you have to do, for example, is to ask, for example, what has been told to the police? What did you tell the police? What is the police accusing you of? And then you have to tell them to not admit to anything. And, sometimes you don't have to say it directly. Sometimes I have to ask people, for example. I remember one I went to and there were two guys that said they were married and they were telling the police that they were married in Lagos, Nigeria. It's very alarming. I cannot, because the police is standing there, I cannot tell him to deny what he had told the police. So, we have to use tactful means sometimes to do these things. I mean, apart from other means that we can use from registration, identity verification, and all of that, high security for these events where these things are happening, to maybe forming them into proper courses where people have to take those courses for media training and all of that. We should also learn to speak tactfully because I basically looked at him and I said, "You are in Nigeria, my brother. You should learn how to define your relationships to a Nigerian audience. And when I said that, he got what I said. I said, you cannot be telling the Nigerian police that you are married. Do you have a marriage certificate? He does not have a marriage certificate. Does he have a court's orders? Does he have marriage bans? So we should be careful how we use words. So basically, that's what I'm saying. Use tactful language, identity verification, registration, security, all of that can be used. I don't think we are taking advantage. This is something else I want. Oh, thank God I remembered it. I don't think we're taking full advantage of Nigeria the way Nigeria is. Nigeria is broken, which means Nigeria is very corrupt, which means that corruption is an open market. Anybody can buy that corruption. TS is a very moral organization, very upstanding. And Chimdima will tell me TS does not give anybody money. TS does not bribe. TS does, I get it. But my name is not TS. I'm a consultant for TS. My name is not TS. I understand that Nigeria is very corrupt. So I partake of the broken system. I don't pretend about what is the reality. A lot of these things, they would give you, they'll give you support. They'll give support to the highest bidder. So I'm usually the highest bidder. They would give security. The Nigerian police will support anybody, Yahoo boys, anybody that has enough money to pay them. So I'm sure we can pay Nigerian police to be around our event and protect our interests. Yes,
Okay,
so
thank
that's
you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for that. So the next question I have is from Oluchi. Oluchi says, thank you so much for the panelists. Insights and discussions have been very insightful. I wanted to ask that for an average social media user, what steps can be taken to verify information online? Vincent, it would be great if you took this, since I know you're very present on Twitter.
Hi.
Hi.
I think the very first step with navigating media bias is to look deeply and see what emotion is this trying to get into you, what emotion is this trying to elicit from you, what emotion is trying to get a rise from you, and you need to look into the context of Nigeria. If you see a tweet that is probably homophobic slanted from a media company, chances are there's a lot of untruth going there. So the first step to combating media bias at all points in time is to question your emotion, question the emotion and the biases that are at play. You need to, if you see a Nigerian media company tweeting or sharing something, chances are it's probably not accurate. So I think that's the first step. I think maybe the second step, someone has already mentioned this, is to not be quick to share things. So honestly, I'm doing a lot of individual and independent. Why are my words failing me? We're doing a lot of independent research and verification. Unfortunately, that means doing it manually. It could be like researching the media company's history with queer people, checking out the writer, seeing what the writer has written, checking out if this is sponsored, checking out if this is. Yeah, so I think those are three things to just to look out for.
Okay, thank you so much.
I also think, can I respond
Yeah,
to that
sure,
question?
please. Thank you.
I think also being aware of the people who, will I say, in places of authority, like queer organizations and allies, or people of that have platforms that promote queer positivity. I think being aware of their platforms, being aware of their spaces, and going to then ask them, okay, like this piece of news that's floating around, is this true? What is happening here? What's the story? Things like that. Chances are they would know what is the truth, and then they will impart that knowledge to the social media user who's asking. So I think just knowing the people the platforms that you can go to verify this information from is key too.
Okay, thank you so much. So what I'm hearing for this answer is that look to trusted media that have a track record of putting stories out there that are truthful and empathize with the community. So don't trust anyone, just anything on social media. don't repost anything at all because you're not sure if it's true, if it's not from a trusted source that you know. All right, thank you so much. I don't have any other questions right now, so I'm going to go ahead and close this webinar. So I was supposed to have closing remarks by Godwin, but he has to attend to something today, so you get more of me. So thank you all so much. Thank you, Walter, Zikora, Tim, and Vincent for coming here. Thank you, Mma, for giving us our keynote address. It was very insightful and it set the stage for all the discussion that we had today. We have discussed so much about the media and what the place it has, and also the things that go on behind the scenes that end up with these weird headlines. And it's great to be able to have this information. First, know your rights, know what the police can do or cannot do. Also, know the trusted media sources out there. Of course, organizations like Tears, you can trust them. Once put something on that is definitely verified and real. Also, all our panelists here as well, they have social media following. You can go online and follow them. They are also trusted sources of things happening within the community. Also, you know, if you want to verify, even if you see a trusted source, even if it's Tears or anybody else, verify from a second person before you believe these things. Also, try to educate yourself as well. Don't expose yourself too much in conversations with state actors. State actors mean your police, soldier, or anything by government. And also non-state actors, that is your people around you, just the general public and online. Know your rights. You have a right to privacy. You have a right to dignity. Anyone asking you anything does not have the right to get that answer from you. They don't owe you, we don't owe them any answers from your private life. Also, please protect yourself out there. Don't put too much information out there as well that someone else, an influencer that is trying to sensationalize the story, will take you and use your name and then end up corrupting your name online and, you know, in real life. So thank you all so much for being here. And this is the end of our webinar. Thank you to our participants that registered to attend. Thank you all so much for being here. It's an honor to present this to you, and I hope that everyone has learned as much as they can from this webinar. All right, have a great weekend, and we'll see you all next time. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Walter. Thank you, Vincent. Thank you all so much. Thank you, team, as well. It was great having you.